has already joined us. Taha, hello.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hello, hello.
Thank you, Loredana, for inviting me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, alhamdulillah. Everything is great.
Okay. How's the situation in Saudi Arabia? What's happening?
It's getting normal now, but we are still waiting for the flights to reopen so that we can plan our vacations.
Yeah. we all need vacations already. We're desperate for it.
Exactly.
We have 4 students today, 4 very good students today, who are very interested to hear your thoughts, to hear where are you coming from, first of all, what's your background. Mm-hmm. And we spoke a little bit about IoT and 5G, but we would love to hear your thoughts in terms of understanding where these 2 technologies in particular, according to you, will deliver most into the fintech landscape.
Sure. I'll be delighted to share my thoughts. So my name is Taha Sajid. I'm based in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I'm working in Huawei as a core network specialist. My role in Huawei includes deploying 5G networks across different operators. And with respect to, apart from Huawei, I'm also supporting some international and local companies as their advisor in emerging technologies, all the digital transformation drives. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to be with you guys, and I'll be delighted to share my thoughts.
Thank you so much for joining us again.
Okay. So when you thought about 5G, what is the first thing that comes into your mind? Is it the speed, or is it the latency, or what do you feel about when somebody tells you I'm using a 5G SIM? If I may ask you, please. Somebody can put some thoughts into this. Yeah.
I think 5G is more about the speed and the link of this and IoT, I think, or maybe.
Okay. I've been.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
I think also, 5G, to put it very broadly, is sort of somehow seen as a technology that's really gonna bring IoT and artificial intelligence to even more businesses. So it's sort of part of the infrastructure required for countries to really run with this industrial revolution. And of course, these days we hear there's a lot of news about China and what's happening in the UK, and we see a lot of players trying to come up with 5G solutions.
Yes, you're very true. Actually, the thing is, when we launched actually 4G, I'll be telling you a brief, we landed up into 5G, so that you can have an idea about the things. So once we started this telecommunication drive, we started with 2G, and 2G and 3G, all of these are the generation of the telecommunication networks. So when we talk about 4G, let's say once we jumped onto 4G, we did not see much expansion about when it comes to use cases. We only talking about the speed. I can be able to achieve good data speeds, good throughput, all of these things, and I can only use this thing. But when it comes to 5G is basically a service-based architecture. So we are jumping ahead from the speed only thing. We are now talking about latency. We are talking about massive machine type communication, in which we are bringing IoT. So 5G is very promising since it is based on the customer or how we can make the customer experience better. Okay, and it involves a suite of technologies within itself. So with 4G it's only speed. Okay, but with 5G it's not only speed; it's a lot of other things as well. If I will or tell you about the 3 main verticals, then once we think about 5G, so there are 3 main verticals that lies. If Loredana, can you please share your if I can share my screen so that I can.
Of course. Give me just 1 second. I'll just give you sharing. Sharing options. Okay. Okay, great. Can you try now?
Let me see if I can share. Yeah, I think now I can share it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think that's better. Can you also screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So if I'll just put you or take you through all of the use cases. Okay, see, the first use case that we see in 5G is ultra reliable and low latency communication. Okay, but you must be thinking about, and we are talking about the latency up to 5 milliseconds. Now with 4G, the maximum, if everything is going good and we are having a good radio networks and everything is going good, then we can achieve up to 100 milliseconds. Okay, but with 5G, we can achieve up to 5 milliseconds, or in some cases, we can also achieve up to 2 milliseconds. Okay, so just think about it. Why do you need to have a low latency, first of all, or what latency is? Do you have an idea about what latency is, if I may ask you? Or if somebody can share the thoughts.
Lag, right? It's a lag.
Yeah, say that if I'm telling you what is your name, okay, and you're telling me my name is Harry or XYZ. I mean, the pause that I'm getting once I'm receiving the response, okay, which is the gap time, okay, which we call as a latency. Okay, so if let's say if the gap reduces, I can be able to get my response back within instant seconds. Okay, so why does this matter? Actually, we need to think like, okay, we are giving ultra low latency and all of these things, but do we really require this? Okay, so think about it. If we are talking about a mission critical application in which in a self-driving car, there's a robot sitting over here, over there, and he has to perform surgery, okay, with a consultation of some doctor. So imagine that, how much faster response he wants to have it, and it's a matter of life and death. If if there is some delay in that communication, okay, or if there is a self-autonomous driving car and he has to detect some obstacles in between. So imagine that how quickly he has to take the decisions to avoid that obstacle and also in order to inform other cars so that they can avoid that collision as well. So once we're talking about mission critical actions or the applications or the use cases in which we need instant responses, faster communication, then we thought about, we need to have ultra reliable, low latency mechanism. Okay, so that's one part of 5G. Now the second part, which is also very much interesting, is the enhanced mobile broadband, which we call as eMBB. Okay, so with enhanced mobile broadband, it's more B2C communication type of things that once you're having the 5G SIM, you can be able to stream videos quickly. You can be able to have video communication through your phone, and you can be able to have good performance of your communication. Okay, and why it does matter? Why this throughput matter? If let's say if I'm using let's say a streaming website, and if I'm having some sort of remote consultation with a bank or with my audience, I don't want to see any jitter, and plus I need to see a high throughput so that my communication stays good and I can be able to communicate better. And then if you're talking about applications such as augmented reality or virtual reality, in which I need to I'm sitting in my office, let's say I'm having the virtual environment by a shape of lens, and if I'm wearing some sort of VR lens, okay, virtual reality lens, I can be able to see all the environments within my lens, So I need to have the high throughput in that case. So what we are seeing is that once we are talking about emerging technologies, which the fourth industrial revolution is bringing, we need to have the high throughput, which is the data speed. Okay, and by the way, in 5G, once we're talking about 4G, it's like we can get up to 500 megabits per second if we are having good communication, everything is going good. But with 5G, we can get up to 5 gigabits per second to 20 gigabits per second of speed. So imagine that how quickly you can be able to download and stream your things in your mobile phone. And why do we need the mobile phone? Why? Because the most communication that we are observing, we are using mobile phone in our communication. So whatever we are doing, we want to have the good communication in our mobile phone, and that can only happen once we're having a high throughput and high latency, okay, and low latency.
We reviewed today, Taha, just to give you a little bit of background. Today's session was based completely in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and we saw a little bit of big data. So your concept is completely aligning with what we saw today. And we also saw what's happening in terms of how many terabytes are being generated in just 60 seconds of time. So this is how the 5G connects to the big data concept that we already clarified in the second session.
Yes, exactly. And see, if we're talking about if we talking now the third part of the vertical, which is the main, or which I see the most promising one, is the machine or the massive machine type communication over here. Okay, this is the third vertical. In this one, what we are seeing is that this is the IoT slice. I'll come to the network slicing afterwards so that you can have an idea. But this massive machine type communication is where the IT or where the Internet of Things comes over here. So imagine that if let's say if you are building a smart city, okay, and you are having millions of devices connected with each other, okay, how those devices will be going to transmit the data between each other? Imagine, okay. So normally, if you're talking about 4G, you have experienced that if you are going to a crowded place, or let's say a stadium or a concert, you might experience that your signals is not being properly working, or you're not getting the enough throughput or data speed in your phones. Okay, why? Because 4G operates in lower frequency bands. All right. So once you're talking about IoT, we need to have a system in which we can empower those IoT devices to be able to communicate with each other faster, okay, and get the data or get the response faster. Okay. And the second thing is that we need to see that the IoT devices can maintain their battery life, or we don't need to overpower the IoT devices with with some high frequency and all of these things, so that their battery life will not be or cannot stand much. So with 5G, what we are giving is that if you are having a dense population or a dense crowd area, in this case, if you're having an IoT or in a smart city, millions of devices connected, we want to have the communication, or we want to give the communication based on that, so that they do not lose their power. They can have efficient battery life. And how we are doing this? We are giving them low or narrow band frequency band. Okay. With narrow band, we are making sure that those devices can be able to retain their power and perform much better. Okay, so that's the whole landscape of 5G comes, and you see that there are different use cases for with machine type communications or ultra reliable low latency. So it depends upon how you want to go about your things. If you have any questions up till now, please
feel free.
Yeah, feel free, please. If you just.
Is it because?
Yeah,
sorry,
please.
Mr. Taha. Is it because this technology 5G is very important? That's why this problem happened with Huawei.
You mean that this technology is? I did not get your question.
No. The first company announced the 5G is Huawei, I think.
Yeah.
So I think because of this problem happened with Huawei between USA and Huawei. Sorry, this is political question.
No, I'll tell you actually,
Taha will give you a diplomatical answer on this one. He cannot express.
No, I would like to give you the actual answer.
No, because this technology can be used for 3D also printing, and you can be here in Saudi Arabia and you can print a design of a plane or something which is there in other country,
See, if you're talking about Huawei specifically, Huawei by far is the best, is the best, I would say, when it comes to technology. Yeah. Okay, because they live and they eat technology. They, technology is in their you can say in their DNA. So and they are having such equipments, because the only thing with 5G is not only the 5G infrastructure or the 5G landscape, is how you integrate with your legacy system, or if let's say if you are operating in a multi-vendor environment which is having Ericsson or Nokia, how you will be able to connect to those equipments within one operator. So it depends not only the infrastructure, but also how you will integrate with the legacy system as well as the new operators or the different vendors. So Huawei is covering all of these things, and plus there are thoughts about security, like 5G is behind coronavirus, or let's say with having 5G we'll not be able to, or we'll be having a lot of security breaches. This is all, by the way, is a joke. It's not true. Why? Because if you think about if you can be able to, let's say, I'll give you one very good example. If you're having antivirus in your laptops, in your mobile phone, if you are using some sort of malware to detect a virus, if you're having a high speed, you can be able to get all the downloads quickly, and with that, with your system, you can be able to protect your system better by having all sort of downloads, applications and everything. And secondly, if you're having your mobile phone, if you can stream the data from cloud. Why? Because if we are having low latency, we don't need to store our data in our laptops, on our mobile phones. We can store the data in the cloud platform, and we can be able to render the performance because we are having low latency. We can be able to get the data from the cloud, quickly into our platform. Okay. So if we are not saving any data, if we are using a cloud platform, we'll be in a much secure place, so that if nobody can hack our data, we are safe, right? And plus, with 5G, we are now having a service-based architecture. What I mean by service-based, let's say with 4G, we are having hardware equipments in our data centers, with all data centers, and all of the servers are connected. But with 5G, we are having a cloud conversion model, which is based on APIs, So with APIs, all the software coding, these are being audited by third parties, and all of those security agencies. And up till now, Huawei is the one company which is covering all of the bases with respect to the security standpoint, or with respect to communication with legacy systems, or connecting with multi-vendors, And Alhamdulillah, we are now have gained 90 world all over contracts globally of 5G, excluding UK and excluding the US. And only in Europe, we have spent around $13 billion just to set up our R&D, and just to help the European Union to expedite their digital transformation drives.
That's massive. Congrats.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have two questions. One is just if you could tell us a little bit about the price competitiveness of Huawei, because as I understand it, that's also quite a strong point that somehow, it seems from what I've been reading and so on, that Huawei also offers one of the most competitively priced sort of technology.
Exactly.
That's one.
Exactly.
And then secondly, I come from a non-technical background. So could you just very, very quickly explain to me, from the very olden days, because I don't know, I can't really imagine the real technology behind this, but from the real olden days when you had telegraph systems. So I understand there were under the sea cables built, and I think the first one was the transatlantic big cable, right? And then after that, what I know is that you've got satellites in space. What has this journey been, and how does it affect 5G? My question is, like, for 5G, for example, do we now have more sophisticated kinds of satellites? What's the infrastructure of 5G? How does it happen? And if you can compare it historically, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so your first question, you were asking about the price. We then again proudly say that we are one of the cheapest vendor or the technology provider who are giving 5G services. So what I mean by this is that if, let's say, you're an operator at a Salat, okay, you want to deploy for 5G for your users. So we'll say as Huawei that we will do this use case for you. We will do a POC for you. Okay. Once you start earning the revenue from your customers, then you can pay us back. Okay. So that's one. Okay. And secondly, what is if you're talking about 5G and 4G, what 5G has bring is that it is now giving the services based on your usage. What I mean is that if let's say if in 4G, if you are having a package of let's say 100 dirhams, okay, and within that usage, you are saying that if you're browsing a YouTube, you're also getting some sort of ads in between, okay, in which you are not seeing those ads, you are skipping those ads, or some of the time your data is empty or you're not using it, it's an idle mode. Okay, so with 5G we can be able to streamline the particular your usage, specifically that once you are using the service, and we'll only charge you based on that. Okay, so you'll not be charged
so on demand. If I use 45, I mean, you know, if I use only 45 minutes worth of data, then I'll only be charged for that. I don't have to buy
45 exactly, and 45 minutes of quality data. Okay, what I mean by quality data is that you are, let's say if you're reading it, you will be charged based on once what you're reading. You'll not be charged based on once what you're clicking and you are browsing, you are getting the book, and you know, once you are doing that particular thing which you intended to do, you'll be charged based on that. And how we'll be able to achieve that dynamics? By having a service-based architecture, by using artificial intelligence, by using, you know, because with 5G infrastructure, I'll just come to it after this. We have divided our infrastructure in a way that it is more specific to the users. You know what the users are doing. We are not be charging based on any.
I think this will have a huge impact on social media. Like for example, like if one is able to skip ads. I mean, I know what you're saying when you're watching YouTube and you see all these digital ads. I mean, that's how they make. That's their bread and butter, right? So, I mean, I think they're going to be a bit unhappy.
Actually, will not be turning away their yellow dana. If you want to add something over here.
Sorry, what?
I was just making a joke with Nadia. You can't escape ads. You are destined to receive ads for your entire life.
We can develop a separate or different monetary policy for them, you know, but because actually the point is why 4G didn't get that attention, if I may call it. Why? Because it is not intended for the users. You know, it is intended just to give better data speeds, which we already are getting if you're having a fiber connectivity in our home or using a Wi-Fi. You know, it's not making any massive change. You know. So with 5G, we are coming to that level that we are not only supporting different smart cities development by giving ultra low latency, by, you know, powering autonomous vehicles, or, you know, or having some sort of AR or VR application on top of it. We are actually serving all the digital transformation drives. Why? Because actually the infrastructure that you need to build, let's say AI or you know, big data analysis, you are talking about data. Okay. In most of the things, you're talking about the data, how you can make the best use of the data. And if you can able to transfer those data across different entities by having good speed, okay, and can be able to retrieve the information, you'll be in a better shape to actually get a most use of those data technologies. I hope it makes sense. Your second question is like, you know, how is the evolution take place from, let's say, a submarine cable to, you know, to this 5G? What made us? Actually, what we have noticed is that with submarine cables or with fixed connectivity, you cannot reach the masses. Let's say if you are living in Africa, or if you want to set up a drone in some jungle or in some, you know, in some terrain areas, okay, how you will be able to set up the infrastructure or a fixed wireless setup in those regions where you cannot reach, you know. So in order to, but what 4G, if let's say if we're talking about a drone technology, I'll just give you one example so that you can understand better. If talking about a drone technology in which a drone is going to a remote area, okay, you wait for the drone to come back and then you can retrieve the information from that drone, right? But with 5G, if I'm putting a 5G SIM into that drone, I can be able to have the real-time insights from that drone on my display with 4K display, with 4K video. You know, I don't have to wait for it to come back. So in that cases, if let's say if you're talking about 5G, it's about providing mobile communication to the areas where it's not possible with other technologies. Okay, and to bring, you can say, financial inclusions, a lot of different activities, into that place. I hope it answers your question, or if you have some vision.
Yes, thank you. So it's basically through satellite, right? It's basically through satellite.
Actually, satellite is having their own network. Okay, but because with satellite we can be able to track something, but we cannot be able to get the data performance or get to some other level. With comes to customer experience. You can track like a GPS, you can track different entities. However, if you want to give some other services, let's say if you want to give an air application or to power an air application on that place, okay, you cannot get that from satellite. So with having 5G or is actually complementing the satellite devices. It's not like you can have either satellite or you can have both. But if you're having the both things in your place, then you can be in a better position to actually service your customers.
True. Very true. Thank you, Taha, for all that information. And just research this, guys. I've heard of I mentioned this example in the AI course, if I'm not mistaken. Google, for example, is building the Google balloons, they're called, that they are flying over the areas of let's say countries that have issues with infrastructure of getting the internet. They're trying to provide free internet for these areas. So there are a couple of attempts made from the big tech to kind of help with the financial inclusion and their access to internet and everything, but still the world is very unequal, if we can call it like this. So it's still a very big challenge even for the big techs that have the funding and the will and everything to help the people to get access to internet and to the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, thank you, Taha, for everything. One last question from me.
Yeah, please.
If you can just, all of this information is really great. Thank you so much. If you can just give us a small insight on what are the risks that you see coming with the 5G? Because as we know, every technology comes with a baggage of risks, let's say. So what do you think are some of the risks that the technology needs to mitigate before going into mass adoption?
Yes, it's a very good question. The risk is, we can be able to put as much control as we can, but there is something which we need to take care of. Like as a customer, you need to do your due diligence and due care that we say in cybersecurity terms. So with 5G, you can be able to get all those services. The better customer experience. But with this, okay, there comes some risk also. Like a cybersecurity threats will be giving more attack vectors, to the hackers, in which they can exploit the weaknesses. Okay, so so it depends that how you design your infrastructure and what are the areas that are vulnerable to you, in which you can think that if you want to put some controls in it. So with 5G, it's good, but it's still live. It's not that much. It's not that or it's not that much used. So once we scale, or once we see some good use cases, or once we'll be actually using it, then we'll be explore more. But as of now, it's good and it's covering all the basics. But as a user, you also need to be careful about how you deploy this technology.
Yeah, very true. I agree. Great. Any more questions on 5G, everyone? All good? Okay, awesome. Taha, anything else you want to share with us?
Yes, just to close down, if I may ask Miss Nadia and Yasin, just to close down. Okay, if let's say we see the use cases of 5G, but what do you think? How does this actually all works? What goes behind the scenes when it comes to latency? Let's say that how I'll be able to achieve that part. What do you think? Just a broader perspective.
I personally have not a clue because I'm a non-technical person. Okay. I'd be very interested to know what happens though, because it's all like magic.
Exactly. I'm telling you this now. See, if let's say if you are from Dubai, right? You are from UAE?
There's
Kareem. I'm originally from Pakistan. But I've been living in Dubai for a very long time, and then I lived in Canada for some time. So yeah.
So,
just
a bit of background. Nadia, Yasin, and Kareem are based in UAE. Instead, Lulwa is based in Bahrain.
I see.
She's working for the military, so be careful.
Okay. So whenever you hear the term latency, okay, how I'm doing it is that if, let's say, if you want to take something from the cloud, if you are standing over here, let's say, okay, and what happened? Okay, if you're a user over here, okay, you want to take something or you want to bring something from this destination, which is X. Okay, if let's say if I'll establish this X infrastructure, which is the intended destination for you over here, let's say over here. Okay, in this way you can be able to retrieve the information quickly. It's like caching the things. It's like giving you something which is near to your destination. Okay, so with 5G, how it is achieving the latency is that we are giving, since it's based on a cloud architecture, so we are giving the necessary entry points or the servers close to the users. Okay, so once we're keeping something close to the users, they can be able to retrieve the information quickly and faster. So that's how we are achieving low latency by using something called CUPS, which is control user plane separation. Okay, you can think of as a buzzword. And secondly, what we are having is that we are having NFV architecture over here. Just this two terms that if you can remember this thing, it will be very good. So network function or network function virtualization. So with this 4G and all the previous generation of the telecommunication network, we're not having this infrastructure, which is like a virtualization concept, in which I can be able to create different boxes. I can be able to scale seamlessly, okay, by using APIs or by using a scale or as per go or on-demand model. If I need to have a higher capacity, I can be able to create by using a virtualization concept by only clicks. Okay. So with all of these things, we can be able to scale better, provide good throughput, and have low latency features. So that's all I think on a high level. I think you have enjoyed this small discussion, and that's all. I think it's all about.
Thank you so much, Taha, for your time and for taking these minutes to kind of broaden our perspective on 5G. How does it work? So when we go out there and now we have a conversation about 5G, we are more knowledgeable and we know what's happening on the background. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.